Hi, my name is Antoinette, and I'm a simple, normal English class teacher who loves English with a passion, and I enjoy teaching children and seeing their faces light up when they have finally understood something that I've taught them. Please, this session is not something to make you feel inferior. It is absolutely a session where I want you to use the tips that I'm giving to you as a teacher and just build your foundation on it, add to it, take away from it, but I want you to make your own success recipe by using the tips that I'm giving you. Sometimes teachers don't realize the influence we have on kids all the time, and we get so caught up in the school's rat race that we forget that we are creating young, energetic people and future leaders. So I would like you to use this and just feel free to add your own creativity and add on to it. Firstly, as an English teacher, you need to base your class on ground rules. Now, I'm not talking about normal decency, discipline, and respect. I'm talking about what the language requires of you. And this is for any home language, first additional language, and second additional language teacher. You have to speak the language that you are teaching in the class, and the children need to speak it as well. The reason for this is you are going to be challenged. You are going to have a percentage of the class who does not want to cooperate. It is your responsibility as the teacher to make it interesting and inviting so that their confidence can build into normal conversation skills when they speak English. The children or the child should feel free to make mistakes and build from it and learn from their mistakes, not to make it again, and to speak properly and to speak correctly in your class. So basically, your ground rule is speak English at all costs, at any time. When the child makes a mistake, you need to correct the child on making that mistake because he needs to speak properly and correctly. But it should be in a manner that it's just subtle. It should be in a really subtle manner that the kid doesn't realize you are correcting him or her on their mistake. Then, let's move to the buzzword CAPS. Every teacher has now gone on CAPS training, and I would just like to settle your nerves that this is also CAPS friendly, and CAPS is teacher friendly as well. We are moving back to basics. CAPS has realized that we've got to break it down to our 4 skills. Mainly the first skill is reading and viewing, reading and comprehending, listening and speaking, writing and presenting, and the final one is language structure. So the session that I'm going to teach you now or give to you now is CAPS friendly because it covers all these skills that I'm going to talk about. This is grade 6 up until matric. It's very basic, but you can add your own level of difficulty to make the lesson more interesting. But all I'd like you to know is that this works in the classroom. I've applied it, and if you use it incorporate it in your own teaching method and style, you will have success at the end of the day. First of all, CAPS is topic-based, and your learning areas are changing now to subjects, and your themes are changing now to topics. So I would keep a topic 2 weeks long for duration time, because longer than 2 weeks, children become bored about it, and it becomes wishy-washy after the end. And don't make it too short. A week is too short because the repetition and the understanding doesn't last for that long. So I would keep it 2 weeks based, and this is also in your CAPS document. So, if you look at your normal CAPS chapters and your textbook, every chapter covers a specific topic. It's your job as the teacher to excite the learner about this topic. Even if it's a topic that you don't feel comfortable with, then you will learn as well, because it's a learning process. It is really important that you get external resources to help you and to improve your lesson every time with the class. And it just helps in grabbing the attention of the learners. When starting a new lesson, the easiest way is to read your comprehension, because every chapter starts with a comprehension that covers the topic being discussed. Now, how you introduce your comprehension is up to you, but I would suggest an icebreaker. And this icebreaker should be interactive. It's not teacher-centered. Use anything relative to the icebreaker to help you grab their attention and to make the lesson fun and exciting. For example, if you have, your topic is visiting the zoo or people and places, have cutouts of different animals, put up the animal pictures on the board, have a question and answering. Let the kids talk about their favorite animals. Let them discuss what they would want to be one day if they were an animal, but make it fun, just to grab their attention. Let the time of this icebreaker be about 5 minutes long, 5 to 7 minutes long. You don't want to have it too long, because then the class will become unruly, and we don't want that. We want to focus the learners on what the topic is. Here are some pictures on what you can use. The animals, animal love, because all children love animals, wildlife animals. And then our topic is about the king of the jungle. And yeah, you can narrow your pictures down to your basis of your topic, which is the lion. We talked about starting with a comprehension and following it up with an icebreaker. The icebreaker then establishes the topic, and it is a nice way of kids interacting and having fun and grabbing their attention. When they enter the class, immediately on your board, the keywords must be written. The kids will see them. They won't ask you yet. Some will ask you what are the keywords and what is it all about. But this should be visible on your board when you start, before you even start with the icebreaker. So this is the first thing that they will see. In a reading passage, there will always be new words to learn and spell, and these words are our keywords. Now, as I said before, it should be written on the board immediately when the kids enter the classroom. What you as a teacher then do is, you will pronounce the word. After your icebreaker, you then move to the keywords on the board. You pronounce the word so that the learner familiarizes him or herself with the pronunciation of this word. Because in English, the pronunciation is different to the spelling. That's the beauty of this language. What you do then is, you nominate different learners in the classroom to repeat the word you have pronounced, and then spell the word as well. They can come up to the board, they can stand from where they are at their desk, but they have to physically spell the word. You will then create this learning environment of they will be familiar with how the word is pronounced and the way that it is spelled. So you as the teacher then, you pronounce the word, you spell the word, and then the kids repeat this activity. How many words to choose depends on the length of your text. To give you guidance here, don't make it longer than 10 words if it's a longer piece, and no less than 5 if it's a shorter piece. I have found that learners forget if it's less than 5, and they tend to become bored if it's more than 10. Now the words that we're looking at is attendant, thoughts, originally, way, murmuring, regarding, angles, dangerous, natural, and surroundings. Now as I said before, you pronounce the word, so you will say attendant, you will start with attendant, and then you as the teacher spells out the word. So you will say A-T-T-E-N-D-A-N-T. Then you move to the class and you will say Sally, say attendant and spell attendant. And Sally will say attendant and she will repeat exactly what you have done. This is also building their conversation skills, and this improves their pronunciation. Now you move on to dictionary skills on what the word means. So if I take the word attendant, you then nominate different learners in the classroom. You've had now learners to pronounce the word and to spell the word. Now you've got to have a different set of learners to look up the meaning of the word. Okay, so they take the dictionary and they're looking up attendant. The most important thing about dictionary skills are it helps with the spelling and it helps with your alphabet sequence. So the kid will say A is in the beginning of the alphabet, then it goes on to A, T, there you go, okay, A-double-T, attendant is A-double-T. So yeah, you connect with the fact that you spelt the word in the beginning. Remember, you pronounced the word and then the learners pronounced it and they spelled it as well. So then the child who's looking up in the dictionary also connects with A-double-T. Then attendant, you will look attendant. There we go. In a dictionary, you normally have the phonetic spelling for the pronunciation, and then next to it, you have the parts of speech. So attendant can be a noun or an adjective. In this way, you're covering language structures as well, because now the child knows that it can be a noun or an adjective. As a noun, a person whose job is to serve or help people in a public place. They've got to look at the context. So they can look at the noun, the way that it is as a noun, a person whose job, or they can go to the adjective, the second meaning. Okay, adjective or noun. And this you do with all your key words. The learner looks up the word, and then they've got to pronounce the word again, spell the word, and they say the meaning in front of the class. They can stand at the seat or they can go to the front of the class. But what I've found is that older children are very shy. They like to stand where they are. Younger children love an audience. They stand in front. So yeah, we do the meaning of the keywords, and they have to, you can recap on the meaning of the keywords as well. What you can do is, after every word has been looked up and the meanings have been said, you can randomly ask again, attendant, but this time just keep it shorter. So your icebreaker and your keyword session will be 15 minutes in total. And you've got to keep this in consideration, because with your CAPS document, it is all about time-based learning. So you don't move on until the kids understand the icebreaker. So yeah, we are attendant, thoughts, noun is something that you think of or remember. Originally is an adjective. You then repeat the meaning of the words. Now you move on to the reading of the comprehension. Now, learners should always read with a pencil and a ruler. The reason why is you've got to underline the keywords and write the meaning of the keywords at the top. That's why I normally say in a pencil, because they can erase it afterwards. And if it's in a book, then they can write it neatly in the margin and then erase it afterwards. When you start reading, nominate different readers in the class. I always avoid reading a comprehension myself because the kids become used to your voice and they switch off. Nominate readers in your class. I have found that if you read it yourself as the teacher, they switch off completely and then they don't follow in their textbooks. Now, when you nominate readers and do it randomly, everybody will follow in their book because they don't want to lose the place and they don't want to be an embarrassment in front of the class. Once the text has been read, you move on to the contextual questions. But let's just quickly look at an example of the comprehension. The comprehension title is At the Zoo. So you will ask the class what is the title of the comprehension, and they will say At the Zoo, so that they become familiarized with the terms used in a comprehension, the title, who wrote it, who's the author, and so forth. The reader who is reading the first paragraph, if your keyword appears in the paragraph, the person will read the sentence. For example, it is feeding time and the lion and the two lionesses are lying down, pawing and tearing at the huge pieces of meat they have just been given by the attendant. Then you will say, pause class, underline the word attendant. They underline the word and then you ask, what does attendant mean? And they say attendant is the person in charge or helping with the job. And they write it in pencil at the top of the word or in the margin that they will erase later on. The second word as well. As the three boys stand watching the king of the jungle having his lunch, each one is busy with his own thoughts. Okay, thoughts, underline thoughts. What does thoughts mean? It's your own way of thinking and it is a noun. Right. What you can do in an extended language activity is when you do parts of speech. You can give the sentence again that they must read, and then you must say, in this sentence, is attendant a noun or an adjective? Because in our meaning of the words explained, we said it can be a noun, dictionary, or an adjective. But in this case, it is a noun because it follows the article the. But that is in a later language activity. I'm just reminding you. Your comprehension should, at the end of the session, your keyword should be underlined and the meaning of the word should be written at the top. Now, completing the questions. After you have read the passage, or the learners have read the passage, it's always nice to have a contextual question session where they write this in their book. Now, according to CAP's document, portfolios are obsolete these days, but you still have to keep your assessment work separate. Now, every teacher has their own method. What I do is I've got a jotter with their rough drafts that they can do. They write their planning in that. They do their rough drafts in that. Then I have a workbook where they do their physical work like these comprehension questions, language activities, and so forth. And their third book is an assessment book which covers all their assessment that will count for that term. Now, when they do the questions of the comprehension, this will then be in their workbook. After the reading of the passage, before you do the questions, you can have an informal question and answering, just to make sure that all the learners understood what they've read. Who was at the zoo? Name the main characters. Which animal did they see at the zoo? Just random questions to get everybody involved in the activity and understand what they have just read. When they do the activity, so your icebreaker and your keyword activity, we said what would be about 15 minutes long. Reading will take about 10 minutes when you have now underlined the keywords and you've written the meanings and so forth. So that is 10 minutes long. Unfortunately, kids cannot pay attention longer than 20 minutes. They become restless and they don't concentrate anymore. That's why I leave the answering of the comprehension questions for last, because then they can focus on that, they settle down and they write then what they have learned in their workbooks. The questions will then follow. What you can do as a teacher is you can read the questions verbally and they answer the questions verbally. What I've noticed in class is if a child doesn't understand, he doesn't do anything. He's not busy. And then he becomes distracted and he becomes a distraction to the other learners. So I normally read the questions out loud, verbally to the class, and then ask any random learner the answer, if it's the correct answer, or you move on to the next. What are the lions doing as the boys stand watching them? And then you ask the class for the answer, and they've got to put up their hands. After you have completed the comprehension questions, it can be marked in class, obviously, with a correct memo, and you check the work of the learners when they have completed it. You can do then a follow-up activity, just ensuring if all the learners have understood what we've just done. You can go back to the keywords again, pronounce them, spell the words, and give the meanings. And then you can move on to the comprehension on what they've read. Were the boys standing near or in front of the cage? And then they can underline in front of the cage or near, whichever the correct answer is. With a follow-up activity, it's very important to establish understanding before you move on to the next session, before you would move on to language or listening and speaking. With a follow-up activity, it just brings all the information you have given them to a conclusion and an ending. This concludes our session of comprehension. I hope you have been enlightened and I hope you can use the tips that I've given you. Please extend on what I've said and just enjoy what you are doing, because you are here for a reason, and that reason is to empower your learners. Thank you.